everyone. I'm your host, Brittany Jones-Cooper, and welcome back to Build. In Jeremy O. Harris's new play, Daddy, Franklin, a young black artist on the verge of his first show, starts a relationship with Andre, an older white collector. But when Franklin's mom comes to visit, she and Andre battle over the soul of the man they both call baby. Tommy Dorfman plays Max, Franklin's friend who enjoys the perks of his relationship with Andre, but questions his intentions. Please help me welcome Tommy Dorfman.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So the show just opened. I know you guys are you've done a couple shows.
Yeah, I mean, we're still in previews. So it was
Yeah.
our first week of previews. We just had our 9th show last night. So we had like a pretty extensive first week of previews, and today's my first day off in a while. And then, yeah, we're going to continue doing previews and continue sort of rehearsing during the day and shaping the show. And then we open in March.
So how much is still changing and evolving? I got to see it last night, and it feels pretty damn perfect to me.
I'm really proud of everyone I work with. I mean, everyone's worked so hard, from our director to our writers to our set and sound and lighting designers to Jeremy, to the rest of this cast and the gospel choir and the music supervisor. I mean, everyone has really come together to make this beast of a show happen. I don't know what's going to change, but I'm looking forward to whatever happens.
Yeah, I got to see Slave play back in December.
Same. Yeah, I saw it.
So I kind of understood Jeremy's mind a little bit going into this, but again, it was so fresh, and the way he explores topics of race and identity and sexuality and family, I really haven't seen in theater. So what was your introduction to Jeremy?
I mean, I think Jeremy is he did build series. I mean, he's such like a light of a part. Did you interview him during that? Yeah, I mean, as you know, like he just exudes joy and intelligence, and he has the most unique brain of anyone I've ever met in my life. And I felt that way after seeing Slave Play, and I felt that way reading the script for Daddy as well. His writing is so topical, and it asks a lot of its participants and its audience members across the board. And this show deals primarily with family units and family dynamics and with race and sexuality and relationships and love and grief and the insatiable need for success and what that looks like and how that takes over. And it takes place in this weird dreamlike world of Los Angeles where like you don't know what time. I mean, there's a line in the play like, if it's summer every day, when even is it? And I feel like that is so apt to this show as well. It's like you're not quite sure how much time has passed. You're not quite sure where exactly you are. You just know that you're around this pool in this city with these people.
And it's an actual pool.
Oh, yeah. So we have like a really large pool on stage.
It is an amazing stage. I've never seen anything like it. The pool is very functional. They get in and out of it. They appear out of it. I mean, it really is another character almost.
It is. It very much is. Yeah. And I think the water in general and how it's lit and how it shapes sort of the world. And you're immediately brought into that space. Yeah. It's not minimal.
No, not at all.
Jeremy's a maximist. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
I think on a text level and on just like an expression level.
Yeah. And that's what I think you feel when you watch it. You know that nothing's being held back. You really
and I think that's
know that we're going
fun.
to approach these topics in an honest, truthful way.
Yeah, and I think he truly is a voice of the generation. I mean, I think it's so rare that you have someone like that pursuing theater. I mean, he's also pursuing, obviously, film and television and other projects, but I think to sort of like breathe new life into theater. Yeah. And I feel like that's what he's doing with these plays. And it's such a privilege to work with him, someone who's just on the precipice of their career, just starting. I mean, really just starting out.
Really just starting out and really creating a whole new lane. Like you said, he's the voice of the generation. I think I said that same thing when he was here. I feel like for this generation of people, we just want truth. We want honesty. We want to see new narratives. We want to see our stories being told.
100%. I think it's so rare as an actor that you get a script like this that allows you that freedom to just like go balls to the walls, like explode. And it's not naturalism, and it exists on it's melodrama. It exists on a higher plane, which is what's so fun to me, at least, about coming back and doing a play after being in TV for a few years.
So let's talk about your character, Max.
Sure.
Tell us about Max.
Max is an actor in LA who, the way that like the character is described in the script, which I love, is it's like Max has booked the lead of 3 CW pilots, and this is his first play. CW pilots that have never been picked up. Right. So it's like he has, I think, this like charisma and perhaps like even star quality, but like bottled within that is like resentment towards perhaps the industry and like where he is in his life because he's just had like maybe shitty luck. you know? And Franklin, he's the best friend and sort of like companion of Franklin, who's our main character, whose journey you follow, and you follow sort of the journey through his lens as well. And I think, yeah, I mean, there's just like that kind of like familial love that you have with people that like you grow up with in your early 20s. Like I'm 26 now, and I can think of like my friends who would be like Franklin to me, or like Max to me, or like Bellamy to me in the play. People that came into my life sort of like that post-college, pre-adulthood period, and like you get close in a different way. And I think that's very much at the foundation of their relationship. And Max is, you know, as you saw, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's he, as you said, like he reaps the benefits of this newfound relationship, but also is perhaps the only realist in the play, and sees things for what they are, and calls things out for what they are. And a lot of this play is about people's masks sort of coming off and things being revealed, and true self being revealed. And so that's been the fun thing to play with Max, is sort of this journey of pretending like everything's okay until it's not. And that sort of like boiling that happens until it just boils over.
And it does, yeah.
And it does.
And with Franklin, so much of his story is him being away from his family, away from his roots and his mother, and sort of his moral compass. And I feel like Max sort of fills that role a little bit.
Yeah.
Where he's kind of like that mom, like, are you really, should you be doing this?
And I think it's funny because Max and Zora, and I don't think we realized this till we got to table work right before, but you know, I would read the script and they have a connection. Like Franklin's mother and Max have a connection. And, you know, they've obviously met in the past, but I think like they're both, you know, Max is maybe more spiritual and Zora's perhaps more religious, but like they both believe in God. They both believe in truth at its core. They both see things for what they are. And she even says that to him, right? Like, you always know what's going on, and I think that's true. Like, Max is a perceptive, observant person, and yeah, he has his own insecurities, yeah, he has his own fears, but in the context of this play, like, he truly is sort of like a moral compass in a way. At least that's the way I see it.
Yeah. I saw Max also as somebody who maybe had lived a little more than Franklin.
Yeah.
And so he talks about his experiences with a certain director and being pressured into certain things and choices.
Yeah, I think
he
has
made.
Perspective about that. And I also think like he's seeing his trauma, his wounds of the past through this new relationship that Franklin's in. And he's realizing as well as the play goes on and as the story goes on, as the relationship goes on, how traumatic like those experiences were for him, and like how he doesn't want to see his friend go through the same thing.
One of the major themes explored in the play is that intimacy that you have with a partner, somebody that you're in a relationship with. And through that, there's a lot of nudity in the play. And I actually want to know your thoughts on why that nudity is important, because I do feel like it's important to kind of...
I think we over-sexualize nudity.
Yeah.
To begin with. I think like nudity, we often like immediately assign sex to it, which is, you know, it is the case. But sometimes like you're just naked by a pool. Right. And like, because you're that comfortable in that space and you're that intimate in that space. And those are the parts of life that like I'm interested in seeing as well. And that I think are like pertinent and important. And
that's why I said intimacy, because
yeah,
it feels...
vulnerability as well.
It's very vulnerable, and I don't think I've seen nudity used like that in a play.
It's interesting, like the first time you see nudity in our play is not sexual.
Right. Yeah, which I think is really important.
It's a power play too.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
Another theme is identity. Franklin, I feel like at the beginning, I felt like I knew who he was, and very quickly I realized that I don't know if he's finding his identity or losing his identity throughout the play.
I think that's very much the experience of an audience member on this journey, and also as friends of his, like in the context of the world that we're living in the show, is in some ways he's coming into himself, in some ways he's losing himself. You know, like when your star is rising, but then like parts of self get lost in that. You know, it's interesting, like when speaking about identity and like this character, for me, at least for Max, like he, you know, he's an actor, but he's not, I've never seen him, he's like kind of insecure, I think, about his sexuality and like how he presents himself. And like, I see this a lot sort of, especially with like gay men, like this need to perform like as like hyper masculine because of this fear of being seen as like feminine or less than, or like not man enough because they happen to be, their sexual orientation is towards men. And so that's been an interesting thing to play with Max, is sort of that like internalized homophobia and how that presents itself, and how he changes sort of the way he talks around certain people to...
Even how he dresses differently than
Yeah.
Franklin.
Oh my
I mean,
God.
even
Yeah.
those little details you
Yeah.
can see, especially I wish I could go back and see it again, because I feel like you would probably see little different things each time.
Yeah. That's
You
the
know?
fun thing about theater. Every night it's different.
Yeah,
In some way.
Yeah. And race is obviously a huge theme in a lot
Yeah.
of Jeremy's works. I have to say, I got very emotional with Charlene Woodward's scenes. She plays Zora, his mother, and I almost can tear up about it now because there is this vulnerability to the way she plays this character. And then obviously you see that she is basically fighting for the soul of her son, is how she views it. And it's a really intense thing to watch. What is that like for you watching that every night and being on that stage and experiencing it?
First of all, Charlene Woodard is a gift.
Yeah.
I mean, she's like, she's
Really
a
special.
national treasure. She is so talented. I'm so grateful to be in her presence on a daily basis. She's been doing this for, I mean, she has a plethora of experience and knowledge and wisdom that she's bestowed upon us as a cast. And it's really wonderful to see someone work. And I think this type of a role for her is really exciting, because it's just not that kind of role that you get a lot. I think the thing that's interesting to me about Zora is that she's not homophobic. She's, her problem is she's religious, but she has no issue with Franklin being gay. It just is this type of relationship. And I think the disconnect that has happened and I think all the friends feel that. Maybe Bellamy a little bit less, but like for Max in particular, he lost his best friend to this guy who he knows isn't right for him. Yeah. And I think, as like a European person, like Andre's character, his understanding of like race and racism and like privilege, especially being like very wealthy and an art collector and living in that world, is very different than someone who might have grown up in America, who's someone who they just have a different relationship to race and racism and what that looks like.
At some point, I think he's like, I know that it's pain, but I see it as beautiful.
Right.
Even having that kind of disconnect of
like completely disconnected and unaware.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I think was really powerful to explore. And I think a lot of people are going to see that in themselves maybe a little bit when they watch this.
And I hope people do, because I think like so often theater goers are older, rich, white people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People who are donors and people who, and so I think, and I hope it does provoke thought in them and challenge them.
That is
to
something
see things differently.
I've noticed in his audiences is his work is very self-aware. So even the things that Franklin is going through with his art and how it's being accepted, I could see that with Jeremy sharing his stories and with a white audience and wondering what parts of it they're taking and understanding and really kind of
or not getting which is also interesting.
Yeah.
I think something that we talk about a lot is like, how do we get younger people into the theater? How do we get younger people of color into the theater? How do we make it more accessible? Because his show, Slave Play, Daddy, like these are shows that should be seen 100%. By young people. They need to be seen by students. They need to be seen by people who can't necessarily like afford the $200. I mean, like a $200 ticket to see a play is crazy. So we're always trying to find ways, and like this is very much part of the discussion. Is like, so we have our front row now dedicated to $25 tickets. I do work with the Alley Forney Center. I gave them all my comps to get kids, like LGBTQ youth, homeless youth, to come to see this show. Like those are the people we need in the audience. Those are the people who plays like this can like reshape 100%. Their lives and their trajectory. Like, I think like when you're, if you're interested in theater or if you're not interested in theater, and if you are interested in pursuing theater as a young person, you have the opportunity to see a show like this, it can really challenge the way that you build your future and the way that you make your art, and the way you treat other people.
Yeah, I think, and we kind of touched on this earlier, but where we are right now, we're in a place where a lot of artists are getting to create works that reflect their own experience, and they're actually able to find financing for it now.
Yeah, I mean, it's very like the Lena Dunham thing. You know what I mean? It's like when Girls Popped, it like gave freedom to like so many other people to be like, oh, I can write about things that are closer to home and like find success in that, right? And I think, Jeremy's definitely one of those people. Hari, who I live with, is one of those people. We see a lot, like Insecure. I mean, there's a lot of these shows that kind of feel more close to home in that way.
Yeah, Hari actually has a really kind of pivotal scene where she's saying this, like, people are paying attention to these narratives and it's our time. That's what I mean about his work being super self-aware. Like, you know what I mean? You're like, oh yeah, she's saying what is happening right now, what we're experiencing. It's really special and unique.
I'm gonna call this show Daddy.
Like, Daddy got me into Yale. It's like nepotism. It's like this very, I don't know, it's really great. It's, you know what I'm saying? It's not nepotism. He didn't have that. So I read that he would say, like, Daddy got me into Yale, like a lot of kids who can experience nepotism say, but he was talking about something he created from his own personal experience.
100%.
Which I thought was a really kind of important.
Yeah, like the play Daddy.
Like, I worked for this.
Yes.
This is my brain.
Yeah.
What do you hope audiences take away
from seeing this play? Oh, wow. I mean, I hope they leave how you left. I hope they leave wondering and with questions and maybe a little bit triggered and more curious and perhaps having learned something.
I'm certainly still
and
unpacking.
affected. Yeah, I think Jeremy's work, if you're paying attention, which you kind of have to follow his shows, encourages you to unpack for days or weeks at a time after. And this is a play where you'll see yourself in these characters. And perhaps in the characters you least expect, I think, based on like friends of mine who have seen it. You go in thinking one thing and something else happens that you could never have predicted, and perhaps you find yourself relating to people that don't necessarily look like you or do what you do, but like the things that they say resonate in a way that like circumstantially you don't understand, but emotionally it impacts you. And I think this is one of those shows. I think it's an extremely diverse cast, an extremely diverse group of characters.
What you're saying is so spot on. I mean, that was the moment that I got to the point where I was crying almost uncontrollably and had to pull back and like take a deep breath. And it was the moment that I didn't see coming with a character that I had been like, oh, I just can't relate to him really. And then it happened. So what you're saying is something I think people will experience if they are open and just allow themselves to be in this space.
And just come live with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
For 3 hours.
So you're doing this. This is taking up a lot of time, but I know you also have a lot of TV projects in the work.
Yeah, I have other stuff.
Yeah. So 13 Reasons Why it's coming back. You're not going to be a part of the next season.
Done,
but that's opened you up to do
I know. If I was doing
stuff.
that, I wouldn't have been able to do this play.
Yeah. Or Jane the Virgin, right?
Or Jane the Virgin, or I did this new Genji Cohen show last summer called American Princess. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about these roles. Are they challenges for you? Are you playing characters that or are they fun?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're really fun. I think living, like coming from 13, coming from like an hour-long teen drama, playing, that character, playing Ryan, and then my next job being sort of like a half-hour comedy, playing an adult and not a teenager with like improv and like just absurd themes and like absurd storylines happening. Was really fun over the summer and just like a nice sort of breath of fresh air in that sense. And it forces you as an actor to use different muscles and challenges you in different ways. And then, it was also a new show. So that was always like, I had that experience on 13, which is my first job, and having that experience again was fun because you sort of got to like figure things out as everyone else figured them out. And then to go from that and go work, with like Gina Rodriguez and like everyone at Jane the Virgin, like in their 5th season, is such a gift because like they really stuck together as a family, and that's been such a nice learning experience for me to watch how these people, like even 6 years later, still work and how they communicate and how the work comes first, and the humility with which Gina works is something that I aspire to. There's so much love on that set, and it's so much fun to play a villain.
I was going to say, can you tell us anything about your character?
I can't, but I can tell you that I'm playing a villain.
Thank you so much.
In the world, yep, you're welcome. In the world of Jane the Virgin, if you watch the show, it's kind of not dissimilar to how villains are introduced and how they come and how they play. It's nice, because again, I would say that the role of Max is by far, in doing Jeremy's work, is by far the most challenging thing I've done professionally. And it's like the thing that I've been wanting to do since I got out of school, since I got out of college. It's like, it's such a dream to be able to do this play. And not to say that, working in TV isn't challenging, because I think it is, it can be. But this is just a different beast.
Absolutely. And
And
obviously,
I've played all gay characters and all very different gay characters, which is something that like I'm proud of, because I think often, even if they seem to be written similarly, it's like, no, like it's my job to like show a different version of that.
absolutely, which is so important for representation.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean,
And I've said that before. It's like, if, you know, I'm sure I won't exclusively play queer characters, but if I do, like, I'll be damned if they're not different.
I love that. And I mean, your advocacy and in everything is so true to who you are. And I love that that's a part of your work and something it looks like in projects that you look for.
I think it has to be.
Yeah.
Projects that I'm fortunate enough to get, you know, it's like, yeah, that's very much the reality, right? As an actor, you're audition.
Well, I can't wait to see you in more and more stuff.
Thank
Before we
you.
get out of here, though, I know we have
Sure.
a couple questions.
Yeah, please.
So one from the audience first.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, good, you?
I'm doing good, thanks. So I know I saw you came from a theater background, and obviously it has been
Yeah.
a long time since you've been on stage probably, or, since you've been busy with TV. What is it like coming back to the stage? Were you nervous, scared, and what led you to this particular project, like specifically to be the one that kind of brings you back,
I mean, I think, yeah, so I studied theater. I went to Fordham in the city and graduated in 2015. And then, like, kind of immediately was working on that show. Yes, this has been so scary.
Yeah,
it is. It's really scary. It's really, but at the same time, it's also simple in a way that I forgot. Like, I go to the place every day, and you go to the same place every day, and you get to work on that every day, which is such a gift. Like, you just don't get that in the same way. Right. I think, for me, at least in my experience working on TV. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I had a lot of fear coming into this and meeting an audience again, and what that feels like, and doing work that is really important and really challenging. I think I felt this way about 13. Like, I couldn't imagine a better first job. I can't imagine a better first play with better company. I mean, truly. I wanted to get back to theater. That was always the goal. It was just figuring out how to get there. Mm-hmm. And when you're stuck on a show for 7 months out of the year, it's really hard to get there. And so I'm really grateful that I have the opportunity to now.
And have you learned anything from working with Alan?
I mean,
His comfort on stage, I can feel
his comfort. I mean,
how
he's
comfortable
so
he is.
at home.
That's him.
It is. He has an effortlessness that is aspirational for me, and I think it's really, really. I really do thank God every day when I come to work, because I'm still shocked that I get to work with him. Because it's like when you're in college, they're like, make a list of actors you like. And I literally was like, well, I have one. And it was him. You know what I mean? Because it's like, sure, I want to be like Cate Blanchett. But when I look realistically, I'm like, well, what queer gay actors are there that I really admire, that really push the boundaries and do theater and do TV and do films and own nightclub, are faceted artists, and he's sort of at the top of that list. And so to have I'm not gonna cry. To have an opportunity to work alongside that and watch someone like that work on a day-to-day basis is a privilege I do not take for granted, and I will not forget.
It's so special.
It's really, really special.
Yeah. I'm happy for you that was the number one on your list. I mean,
it's
that's
really,
so
really
cool.
surreal. It's really, and he's also just a lovely human.
Yeah, I can tell.
Just,
again, the way he fills that room, and he's so giving.
When I come into the green room after a scene and I feel damn, that wasn't what I wanted it to. You know what I mean? He's the person who's come on, chin up, let's go. We're not doing that today. Go back. You know what I mean? Just it's nice to have a team player in that way.
Absolutely. And yeah, that's amazing. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
Regard. It's so cool.
It's crazy.
And we have a Twitter question. Elijah Triplet wants to know, if you weren't acting, what other profession could you see yourself being a part of today?
I mean, I could definitely not be a doctor or a lawyer.
Let's start with what we can't do.
Sometimes it's easier to look at the things that are not options and then narrow it down. I think I would probably work in fashion, although it's a terrible industry. I would probably work in some, some world in that way.
Do you like to design or put together looks or buying?
No, I think maybe I would do styling. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I always like styled my mom as a kid. I always like dress her for stuff.
And you always look good.
Well, that's very sweet.
Yeah, you put on this like 3-piece, and I was like, "What? This is beautiful."
I know. I like took the train down here. I was volunteering this morning, and then like changed in the green room. I had this like layered in a different way when I was like on the like walking from the train to here, and then I went back there and kind of buttoned it up.
Well, this works.
Thank
so
you.
You made a good call. We have one more question before we go.
Please.
You mentioned this was challenging. What's the most challenging part of your job?
I think self-care. When you're working on something truly, just like taking care of like your voice and your body and like knowing that like you're going to do this 8 times a week. At the moment, this is what I'm confronting. It's like, how do I do a show that's this intense, that asks so much of you, and that I want to give as much of myself as I possibly can on a day-to-day basis to, without being detrimental to my own like mental and physical health and spiritual health. And so that's been a journey. It's just figuring out like, okay, like what do I need to do personally to be able to do the work on stage and not have it, not resent this experience because I'm so exhausted, or you know what I mean? Like, how do I find gratitude on a daily basis and make sure that I'm getting enough sleep and vitamins? And
do you have a ritual or anything that you do after the show to sort of bring it back down?
Well, that has been a challenge too. Is like as exhausted as I am, I get home from the show and I'm like, like nothing can get me to sleep, you know. And I don't take like sleeping pills or anything like that. So I just have to. I'm trying to figure that out. I'm a ritualistic person. Like I make my bed every morning and I like say a little prayer and do a little meditation. You know, like I have like the things I do and I have my breakfast and it's the same. So I'm trying to figure out what my new nightly routine is. Because I'm usually an early rise, early to bed, but I don't have that option now. So now I'm going to be like, so now I'm a late to bed, later to rise. And so it's just different. It's different. But yeah, I'm working on it.
Yeah, I've heard that's difficult. I interviewed DeWanda Weiss, and she was in Firefly, and she said she would walk home for 45 minutes after.
That's a great idea.
She's like,
if it wasn't February, I might do that.
Yeah, true. I mean,
although
you can bundle
Alan
up.
cycles, I could start biking. I did actually. It was a beautiful day, not like last week maybe, or like a weird global warming like disaster of a day where it was like 60 degrees in February. And I did walk from. I'm living in the West Village right now temporarily because I live in LA. So I did walk from the West Village up to the Signature and like through Union Square and back. And it was lovely. But yeah, I don't know what that's gonna be yet.
I'll brainstorm.
Yeah, please send me any ideas you have. Tweet them at me. I would
Perfect.
love.
Well, if you guys are interested in anything we've discussed in the last 20 minutes or so, I would highly recommend going and seeing this play. It really is a transformative experience. You're going to have so many things to talk about with your friends after the show. I guarantee it.
Yeah. And also, if you feel like you can't afford tickets and that is the challenge, tweet at Jeremy and tweet at me and tweet at other cast members, and we will help you.
Yes.
We will help work it out. Like we have codes coming and like rush seats coming. Like come see this show.
Yes, that's
it
awesome.
says sold out online, but we have tickets.
So you heard it here. Go do it. You can check out Daddy at the Pershing Square Signature Center from now until March 31st. Give it up for Tommy Dorfman.
Thank you.